On today's show, this is K-Rockcast, the podcast where music and perspectives collide.
I'm Anne, a music lover who's the ultimate fan.
And I'm Kelly, a professional musician. Join us as we dive into the world of the Rose and other Korean and Asian rock bands.
Sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we'll wildly disagree, but what's guaranteed is a passionate, hilarious, and unfiltered conversation about the music that unites us and the bands that inspire us. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is our episode Into the Dotunes. Kelly, I'm excited. We are going to be deep diving into everything Park Dojoon. And I love me some Park Dojoon.
We both do.
How are you feeling about today's episode?
I'm actually quite excited to do this, to be honest. Come on, you know I have so much respect for Dojoon.
Yes. And he has been showering us with these amazing Dotune covers over the last several months. The activity has really kind of kicked up out of the blue as well, which piqued our spidey senses and got us speculating. So today, listeners and viewers, we're not only going to break down the 10 amazing covers that Park Dojoon has given us on his YouTube channel, but we are also going to speculate on the potential of a solo Dojoon album coming in the near future. So excited for that. So Kelly, why don't you kick us off by kind of breaking down just an overview of these Dotunes that he's been releasing over the last year or so?
So, Mr. Park Dojoon has been very, very busy releasing lots of lovely little cover versions. He's actually done 10 of these videos in total, and they have been really beautiful cover versions, generally speaking, an acoustic variety of a selection of artists and musicals. And the first video was released on his YouTube channel on the 17th of January in 2024. So this is sort of like around the time of the Jewel tour, and which will make sense when you see some of the videos. 3 cover videos released over a course of a few months in early 2024. And then the channel went completely and utterly dark until September 2025. And then he's gone a little bit mad and posted 7 videos on the bounce. This is very much back to his busking days and how he started. And his vocal ability screams. It doesn't even shine. It screams through on all of these covers. And he literally is covering so many genres as well, which is quite impressive because it gives you more of his sort of vocal prowess as well. We get a nice mixture of Korean and English songs. And also the fact that some of these videos were recorded in ways that you wouldn't necessarily expect. So you get like big show productions, and then we get some more rather nice little intimate things where he's sort of sat in the front of house sound booth with Joel. And yeah, it's really sweet, and I've just really enjoyed all of these.
Yeah, I think fans have just loved this resurgence. When he started reposting, I admit I kind of forgotten that he even had this YouTube channel.
I know.
Because he had only done a few of them. And then, like you said, he kind of went dark. He obviously filmed a bunch of these during that Dawn to Dusk tour, but just kind of has been sitting on them for whatever, like, sort of interesting reason. We don't know.
I think we found out during the documentary, this man literally squirrels away stuff. I mean, we've seen him half-inching stuff from actual videos as well, so we know he's a hoarder. So I'm not surprised.
That's not true. So I can only imagine what else he probably has on his computer just saved. What other little treasures he
I think there is possibly a hell of a lot of other cover versions on there, and he's just cherry picked the ones that he wants to do. I also think he's probably got blackmailing material on there as well, but that's a different thing. But yeah,
I'm sure he does.
I'm sure he has.
So, listeners, in this episode, we're going to kind of break down all 10 of the videos. We're going to talk a little bit high level about some of these songs, have our reaction to his vocal work and just what you kind of are seeing of him as a musician. And then we'll kind of wrap up the episode with our speculation on what might be to come from Park Dojoon. So let's start with Dojoon tune number 1. This was interesting because, as Kelly, you said, I think what's fascinating about these covers is there is a good mixture of Korean songs that he's singing and English lyric songs, which is really showing his versatility in terms of being able to sing naturally in Korean, but also just as naturally in English, which I think not every artist can really deliver that. So this is from a Korean musical, 웃는 남자, which means grinning man, laughing man, smiling man, a couple different English translations you can say. The song is called 그 눈을 떠, which means open your eyes. His Dotunes number 1 was released on January 17th, 2024. This was kind of the kickoff of his YouTube channel, Park Dojoon. A little bit about the musical itself. Kelly and I kind of dug into this musical because, as you'll see, listeners and viewers, he has several of these covers throughout the 10 videos that he's put out. So he's obviously into this musical. He must love the music from it. We know he's a theater guy at heart. This musical premiered in Seoul in 2018 and produced by EMK Musical Company. A little bit about kind of the story itself. It's based on the Victor Hugo novel, The Man Who Laughs. And there have been other versions in other countries of this musical. Set in 17th century England, the story follows Gwynplaine, a young man who as a child was disfigured with a permanent grotesque smile carved into his face by the order of the king. He's abandoned but later adopted by a traveling showman, and he grows up as a sideshow attraction known as the Man Who Laughs. Despite his deformity, he's deeply compassionate and falls in love with Day, a blind woman who sees only his heart, not his face. It sounds like a really exciting, like emotional kind of story. And I think, as we'll see here in a moment, I've got a great clip from this one. The emotion of this musical comes through so well in his vocals. So let's take a moment and watch that. Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, he has a magnificent voice. And as I've said 1,000,001 times, the man deserves to be on Broadway and the West End. He has such a fantastic range. There's such clarity of power and open note in the crescendo note at the end. Yeah, that's magnificent. I mean, yeah, that's really good.
I think this one is such a great demonstration of the power of his vocals.
It's not just
very operatic in nature.
Yeah, it's not just the power of it, it's his actual technique, and it's the clarity as well, which allows him that power. So this is one of the things I've said a couple of times. It's more to do with the technique and where you take the actual note from, and where you throw the note from as such. I mean, I mean, the old-fashioned ideology of singing is that, you sing from your diaphragm, and notes come from the bottom of your back, and all this, that, and the other. They don't. It all comes from in here. But there is some kind of mental truth in the fact of where you sing from, and it's not just coming over the actual top of your vocal cords. And he really has the ability to sing, and I think he's been continually improving as well as time's gone on, because, I mean, obviously, with what he's been coming out with recently, that says everything.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about it as we go through all 10 of these, because that was close to 2 years ago,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
that was even
Oh, yeah.
released,
Yeah.
um, let alone, like, when he filmed it. So, um, I do think his voice and his vocal style has definitely evolved. I feel like you're saying, I think he focuses a lot on training it. I don't know if that's in a formal way where he has a vocal coach that he works with,
Mm.
or whether it's just himself and what he's doing on his own to train his vocals and keep his technique really, really honed. But
Yeah.
I think that's a good example of the power of his voice. And I think we'll have some others that are, and his more recent vocal work we've talked about in Trauma and in World is more the vulnerability he's been able to
Yeah.
come through in his vocal delivery. But I think in this song, which goes into kind of the little overview we gave of the musical, that emotion,
Mm.
um, I think he delivers that powerful kind of emotion that
Yeah.
you tend to get when you're watching a musical and the actors on stage are just capturing you through,
And but that's
their voice.
but that is the thing, and you've just said the line, the actors. Right? This is the difference between
Mhm.
being a solo singer or a singer in a band. You only have to sell your emotion. Whereas when you're singing a musical, you have to act and sell the
Mm.
emotion and then push the emotion. I mean, it really is another level of actually pushing through the lyrics, because you're selling speech. It's not just a this is what's in my head type of thing that you get traditionally with most sort of pop
Mm.
music, for want of a better term. A little sort of work round the actual song itself. So, as Anne said, this is based on the Victor Hugo novel of The Man Who Laughs. So, I think most of you are probably aware Victor Hugo wrote Les Mis, and you can see various different sort of connections within it to Les Mis. It has a very similar sort of gritty feel that Les Mis has. And he was kind of famous for that. And I think the original play, which was done in the original music, was 2016, and it was premiered in the Old Vic in Bristol, and that was The Grinning Man. That was then taken over to the US, and from there it expanded. This version is written by Frank Wildhorn, and Jack Murphy did the lyrics on this one. So very similar, but there is that slight difference for the Korean version. And yeah, it's quite beautiful. So if you know Frank Wildhorn's work, he did things like Jekyll and Hyde. So he likes a gritty musical. Jekyll and Hyde, by the way, is absolutely fantastic, because Sebastian Bach was in the revival of that, if anybody knows who that one is. And yeah, it's such a great musical, and I can understand why he's sort of latched onto it for the songs that are in it, because they're so powerful.
Take us into Dotunes number 2. This is kind of a shift from what we just heard in the first one.
Completely and utterly a shift. So the second one is, and it was released on the 25th of February 2024. So I don't know if this was a birthday present for somebody, but it's the Jason Mraz song, A Beautiful Mess, which is a truly, truly gorgeous song. And as we know, he is a fan, to put it politely, of Jason Mraz. So this song, just to give a very brief overview musically of it, it's E major, so it's perfect for his voice, and it's 120 beats a minute. And yeah, it's such a cute way that this was done. So this is the one that I mentioned earlier on, where it's so relaxed and it's literally just as everybody's setting up for the show, and he's literally just sat with Joel in the booth.
Though your mind is rather reckless, but I guess it just suggests that, well, this is just what happiness is. It's like, what a beautiful mess it dresses. It's like picking up trash in dresses.
I love that, like you said, so much more laid back and casual
Yeah, so
than
much more.
Dotunes #1, where he's on stage with a specialized backdrop on the LED screen that he picked out for his video.
No,
And peep out the hat, guys. Remember
I
when
know.
into the wardrobe when we tore him apart on this hat that he was obsessed with
I'm okay with it there.
during this
I'm okay
era?
with it there. That looks all right. That's
I'm
fine.
okay with it here too.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
let's
it's not making
backtrack.
his ears
Let's
stick out
backtrack.
quite as much as some of the others.
Yeah. No, I think this is a really great cover, to be honest, and it suits him so much. And the casual way that it's delivered. And one things that I do love about this is the fact that he's not referring to his phone, so he actually knows this song really well.
You know what? That's funny. That's a good point. You're
Yeah.
right. He must really know this song. Well, he sang this in the E-Trike karaoke too, and he certainly didn't
Exactly.
need to look
Yeah.
at his phone in that one. So,
I think
do we
it
feel
might
like this is his like go-to singing in the shower song?
it's
I feel
either
like
that
this
or
is like what he must sing all the time.
it's either that or it's his go-to like vocal warm-up track. I wouldn't be surprised with that.
I feel like my new fantasy now is that I can do noraebang in Seoul with Dojoon, and we just bring up every Jason Mraz song available in the noraebang catalog, and we just like sing every one of them. That's like my new dream.
I worry
Dojoon,
about
if
your
you're listening.
fantasies. Your fantasies scare me a little. You do know that, don't you?
That
And you
sounds
do know
like,
that Jason
how is
Mraz
that
has a huge
scary?
back
That sounds
catalogue.
like, that sounds so much fun. Singing
Yeah, I
noraebang
know.
with Dojoon?
Yeah, but yours always has a weird sus twist to it. I'm waiting for the sus twist.
This one, not today. Not
What's
today.
wrong with you?
We're just singing. We're just singing. Yeah, we're just, I mean, maybe we do shots of soju in between
There
or
we go.
mokali.
There
That's
we
his
go.
favorite
There we
drink.
go. I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I did wonder
I mean,
what
but
would
that's
happen.
not sus. That's just having fun.
We're on
I love
about
this
you.
one.
Horrendous stuff.
I think this one is such a great example of his busking days, right? Like
Yeah.
this just takes me back to his busking days. I think it's also a highlight of his guitar playing, just kind of that acoustic guitar
Yeah.
playing skills that he has. So yeah, that one was really lovely. Next, we had on March 17th of 2024, he released Dotunes #3. Now, this was a little bit different. This was a cover of a Korean artist, Sungwoo Jung-ah. Run With Me is the English title. Dolman Kaja is the Korean title. A little bit about this song. It's an emotional ballad, considered a kind of an adult contemporary pop, has very introspective lyrics, kind of focusing on comfort and escape. So again, so now it's like the third song is completely different than the other two songs that we heard. So let's give this one a listen.
너랑 있을게 이렇게 손 내밀며 내가 잡을게 있을까 두려울 게 어디를 간다 해도 우린 서로를 꼭 붙잡고 있으니 너라서.
All right, so Kelly, what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, other than the phone just being out of shot. Yeah, no, it's beautiful and it's a really fantastic take on it. So the original song is in G major, it's in his comfort zone, and it's 128 beats per minute. So you get that nice drive as the song actually hits its stride, which you don't hear in that. It's only really just starting to pick up pace. And we get that really beautiful soft falsetto that he can go into. That is so nice to hear. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love his chest register, and I think his chest register is where he sits and is quite happy, and it's so lovely to hear him have that warmth and depth. But the fact that he can flip into a falsetto very easily is just testament to how good his actual technique is. And it's clear and it's crisp, and it doesn't sound as though it doesn't struggle with it at all. And a lot of singers would struggle with that flip up to there. But yeah, no, I think it's gorgeous, that one. It really is lovely. And it's nice to see him doing a cover where he's sat at the piano as well.
Yeah, I think this is what strikes me on this one. So we saw his acoustic guitar playing in Dotu number 2. Now we're seeing his piano skills, right? He's just sitting there at the piano and he's singing another ballad. Ballads, I think, obviously suit his voice really, really well. And just again, another genre. So I think to me, what's so impressive about Dojoon throughout all of these covers is his versatility of being able to sing so many styles of song. And it just gets me so interested in if he truly will do his own body of work. What will it be? Like, what type of genre will he lean into? Will he have a mixture? So I'm just so fascinated to see if he does truly come out with his own work, like what his own work will be like. Because obviously he can, he can sing any style of song.
Yes, that is very, very true. And that's the thing, he can sing any type of song. And I think because of the type of band that the Rose are, they are very much pigeonholed into that sort of ballad soft rock thing. I think he's got a lot more in him that isn't just musicals, ballads, and soft rock. Because he has just a genuinely good voice with good technique. And if you've got a good voice with good technique, you can do anything.
Why don't you go into Dotunes number 4?
So, Dotunes number 4 is the absolutely fantastically wonderful, brilliant, pure imagination. But this is the Timothy Chalamet version of it. And I must admit, I'm kind of a Gene Wilder girl. I mean, I like the lunacy of Gene Wilder. But this is a very nice version. It's more of a polished modern day version of it. The lyrics are still exactly the same. And this came out on September the 15th, 2025. So this is the start of his new foray into Dotunes. And I love the whole of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I grew up reading Roald Dahl, which probably explains why my brain is as bad as it is. I love the musical, the original musical, the remakes that have gone through, countless remakes, the Johnny Depp version and everything else. So this song fits in perfectly. And I think it also kind of sort of leans very much to his sort of character, shall we say. I think it's a nice way of putting it. So the song's in F sharp and it's 106 beats per minute. So it is a very definite traditional singer's song, shall we put it that way, with the speed of it. And it's so beautifully done. And the video for this one is great as well. This is Editor Kel. Due to copyright issues, we can't actually play you the audio of Pure Imagination. So here's just Dojoon smiling.
Love his smile at the end of so many of these when he just like looks at the camera and has that cheeky, like you would say, cheeky little smile. It's so fun. this one, I think, again, is just another example of the power of his delivery. And I purposely picked that clip because that's what I love about these kind of musical ones, is just the rich kind of, I said like they're very, like, I think his vocal at the end, that power note he's hitting, it's so rich, it's so thick, it's controlled. Just another example of him being able to like do these musicals. And then he must really enjoy singing these musical ballads, because so many of these are that style of song that he chose.
Yeah.
I love this one.
Yeah, I know, I love it. I mean, it is one of those songs that I sort of grew up with and knew very, very well. So when he came out with this is perfect. I mean, sorry folks, I was shaking my head because I'd obviously had post-traumatic stress disorder kick in, because it was that blouse, and we know collectively how much we hate that blouse. Weirdly enough, this did come out literally, I think it was like 2 days after our actual podcast went live, with us lambasting how much we hate this blouse.
I feel like we have to say this. We did a special exclusive content for our Patreon followers. So if you're one of those Patreon followers, you kind of heard us dig into this, but I think we need to say it here since we do
need to say it. Yeah, we do.
I felt like it was not quite, it was too much of a coincidence.
Yes.
That literally days following our episode, where we dug in so hard on that blouse, that literal blouse.
Yeah.
Not a similar blouse. Not any other look.
That blouse.
That literal blouse. We ragged on this man. So we roasted him.
We did.
So
really did.
hard.
We really, really did.
Then suddenly, he just puts out a Dotune from years before, obviously.
Years ago, yeah.
That he'd been sitting on.
Yeah.
Where he just so happens to be wearing the same blouse.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, could be coincidence. Kelly always tells me.
I mean, the end of the day,
I'm delusional.
Exactly. The song is pure imagination. So, I mean, we might be right there. Pure coincidence, because these things don't happen in the real world, do they? I'd also just like to point out the fact that obviously Dojoon doesn't know the fucking lyrics to this song either, because he's walking around wafting his phone trying to remember what they are. And I think that is,
he does have a lot of these, but
yeah, and I hate to say it, I think that is the only bit where it kind of sort of misses the professionalism of it. Because if you're professionally doing it, you wouldn't have your phone in your hand, which is a bit of a shame. But do you know what?
Would you though? Because have you been to a Rose concert?
Hey.
They kind of always have the lyrics of all of their songs on a big screen in front of their faces.
I know.
It might not be their phones.
I know, but the worst thing is, I grew up in a place where if you didn't know your bloody lyrics, you had it beaten into you. So yeah, I find it a bit hard, that one. It's like, learn your lyrics. Yeah, I know.
But back to the Dotune. I think this was so fun because we had this break. I mean, it was from March 17th, 2024 was Dotunes number 3. And again, like we said at the top of the episode, his channel went dark. Everybody forgot the channel even existed. Yeah. And we had wrapped up the world tour. You know, we knew the guys were going to be appearing in Busan at the Busan International Film Festival. So we were kind of had that to look forward to, but like we didn't have anything else. We didn't know what was going on with the Rose. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he releases this. And it was so fun. It was so exciting. People were like this kind of resurgence of like, what is this? This is kind of random. Like, I don't know what this is. And then they kept coming. So here's number 5. Number 5 was 1,000 Years, which is a cover by Christina Perri. It was released on September 22nd, 2025. So he had just done the Wonka one a week before. And now a
Yeah.
week later, he releases another one. And again, this was just like, what is this? Where is this coming from?
Yeah.
This was a great one. Let me bring this one up for everyone.
I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. Loved you for 1,000 more.
So what I think's a little bit funny about this one is now I feel like there's kind of this competition. Who sang it better? Hajune
Yes.
or Dojoon? Because they both sang their own kind of versions of this song. And I feel like for fans, it's like, ooh, whose
From
version do you like better?
from a vocal standpoint, Dojuni. From a pure vocal standpoint, definitely Dojuni.
Yeah, I think Dojoon's vocal delivery was stronger on this song than when Hajun was playing it on the
Yeah,
piano
yeah.
in his live stream. Yeah.
Haju,
Yeah.
he also he went into falsetto with it though as well, which would have made it more difficult instead of singing it
He
more in his
did.
register. So he's I
Mhm.
mean the Christina Perri one isn't actually that high, to be honest. So I mean it didn't need to go up
Mm.
there, but that was obviously how he felt he wanted to deliver it at the time. Um this is a great song. I love this. This is actually probably the best song from the Twilight series from the original soundtracks. As you know, I like my original soundtracks. I will freely admit, yes, I did see all of the Twilight ones. I have read all of the books. It went down the pan after a little bit, but that's a different thing. Um, there's a full orchestral version of this song, and I can't remember who did it. I want to say it was like the BBC Symphony Orchestra, and it is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard because it's literally one of those shivers down your spine recreations of it. And to
Mm.
actually, and if you could marry the two of these together, that would be beautiful. The original song's in B flat, and it's 139 beats per minute. And I will freely admit this is one of my warm up songs, so I have a very big soft spot for it.
I loved how different this one feels in terms of how it was filmed. So,
Yeah.
this is the first one we've gotten that wasn't old footage, right? We know he filmed
Yes.
this on the
Yes.
world tour,
Yeah.
which is kind of fun then to think he's like, okay, so he's out here all along the world tour and he's obviously doing more of these. So now
Yeah.
it's like we kind of got this taste like, oh, he's not just going to be releasing these old videos that are 2, 3 years old now that
Yeah.
he's been
Exactly.
sitting
Yeah.
on. We can have more recent, kind of
Yeah.
content.
Yeah.
Love that he picked the bed, the way it was displayed with the lights around him. And then again, him on his guitar. I think it shows now if we think of the variety of songs that we've heard, this is a more of a pop song,
Yeah.
and it shows his ability not just to sing a power ballad, not just to sing more of an alternative kind of pop song like a Jason Mraz, but more of like a Christina Perri to me is like a top 40 pop, kind of
Mm.
song. So again, just
Yeah.
his ability to sing honestly any kind of genre that you put in front of the man is just incredible.
Yeah. I mean, this is the waltz song of the whole saga of Twilight, anyway. So, I mean, this is the one that sort of gets picked up as the wedding song and things like that. So, I mean, it is a traditional ballad, but it's a very contemporary traditional ballad, and it fits his voice so well, and it's really nice to hear it being done, to be honest. I love how the video is just so homely and intimate and vulnerable, and yeah, I
Mm.
really like that. I think it's such a sweet thing.
All right, why don't you go into our next one?
So this is Dotunes number 6, and this was released on the 29th of September. So we're gathering speed here, people. The man is kicking them out left, right, and centre. And this one is again Jason Mraz and Please Don't Tell Her. This is E minor and 81 beats per minute, so it's a nice slow burner, this one. But yeah, it's again more of an upbeat version of some of the other stuff that we've literally heard him play. And I'm not surprised that he picked this one from Mr. A to Z to actually showcase.
All right, let's listen to a clip of that one now. Do you know why I had to pick that clip, Kelly?
The mouth trumpet, I'm assuming.
Oh, of course, the mouth trumpet. I was like, how could I not pick the part where he does the mouth trumpet?
Yeah.
I love this man so much.
I was trying to work out which theatre that was, but the actual acoustics in it are beautiful. The fact that you get that really natural reverberation through the acoustics of the venue is absolutely stunning. And then the poor old sod that's walking down through the auditorium and goes, "Oh crap, somebody's recording," and runs. Well, I think that's happened to everybody.
I love it. I just love that. Again, like, it makes it so, you kind of said that in the Dotunes number 2, right? Where he's just sitting there casually with the sound engineer, and you can still see everybody in the background piddling around getting ready. It's like the same concept.
Yeah.
And I just imagine he's like, who, you just think like, who from the staff is pulled in, and he's like, okay, I want to just like film, this Jason Mraz, and it's like he sets it up, and he's like, he picks where he's gonna sit or what he's gonna do, and I just love it. It's so casual. It's kind of like you said, the not polished, but I think that's the appeal of these. They are just, but that's the bros in general, right?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Very natural.
Every now and again, we would like the diamond to be polished, but as a diamond in the rough, it's not bad.
Yeah. I liked this again, like just his acoustic guitar, and he loves Jason Mraz. I think this song overall was a little more upbeat. Than the other songs, I felt like in terms of some of the tempo, but it's just always fun hearing him sing Jason Mraz.
I was just going to say, I think one of the reasons it feels, beats per minute wise, it's actually one of the slower ones, but it's the inclination of the singing as well, which actually gives you a fact that it's more upbeat. So that's one of the reasons it feels like it's more sort of positive, because of how that's relayed.
All right, let's jump into Dotunes number 7. This is our second selection that he picked from the musical Laughing Man. Now, this song is 모두의 세상. 모두의 세상. This was released on October 6, 2025. So as you can see in these release dates, he had been now consistently every week releasing a new one of these. Yeah. So let's play this one for everybody. 하늘이 준 이후에 하늘이 준 오늘 되찾은 내 삶에 세상 does that at the end where he like throws his hand up. I laughed at this one at the time, Kelly, because we had just released the week before part 2 of Into the Wardrobe. And listeners and viewers, if you've watched that one, we dug into Beauty and the Beast, which we felt was the worst look music video the Rose has ever had.
Can
And
I
I
just all of them?
could not help but feel like that outfit and then that backdrop he had was very Beauty and the Beast-esque. It was giving me a lot of Beauty and the Beast vibes.
Just a tad.
And I was like, is this his message to us? Are we getting like secret Dojoon like messages, cryptic messages?
Obviously. Yes, obviously. This is what's happening. Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, if Mrs. Potts had danced across
Remember
the
when
stage.
Remember when I said in an episode that I told the Rose that dad rock is the code word if they listen? Dad rock. Remember that?
Oh God, I worry every now and again. I
Anyway.
really do. Anyway, so this beautiful
Yeah, you should worry.
Yeah. So this beautiful, beautiful song is very much a stalwart of all musical theatre. The construction of it is very, very traditional. It is the lead tenor's song, and this was performed by Park Dojoon in the original cast, and it is note for note perfect to the original. It's in C major and it's 146 beats per minute. It is so obviously the second part highlight song. I'm a theatre girl. Let me just point that out. I'm not lambasting it. I am a theatre girl, and it is very, very, very telling of that type of musical. You could probably transpose this and put it in Les Mis. It's got that level of build that you would expect with that beautiful crescendo. And that's the thing. He can do a crescendo better than anybody else that I've heard in a very, very long time, which is why I keep saying the man would be brilliant on Broadway. I think this is I prefer this song to his very first foray into this musical. I think this one suits him better because of all the beautiful climbs and crescendos and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's gorgeous, and there are times when I think he could have an exceptional career on the West End.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, again, I said this at the beginning, but he must like this musical, or just that this is such a well-renowned musical. It sounds like it is within Korea, that so many people know it. And he also must feel like these songs are just a great highlight of what his vocal ability is, that he's picked, two of them, out of it. But again, he's, to me, continuing to show us the power behind his voice. Yeah. Now, Dotunes number 8 was so fascinating to me because this is a song by an R&B artist. If anybody knows who Tamia is, Officially Missing You, which is completely different than anything we've ever heard him sing before. None of the previous genres we've heard are anything near like R&B. So I love Tamia, and I love R&B music. So I was excited for this cover. Very surprised though by it. He released this on October 13th, 2025. Again, keeping us pretty much weekly with these new Dotoon episodes. So let's give this one a listen.
Can't nobody do it like you. Said every little thing you do. Hey baby, sisters on my mind, and I'm officially missing you.
All couldn't help but think, I think all of us felt like maybe that was a little bit of a message to fans that he was missing us, that he chose that song. What is your thought on that cover, Kelly?
I think it's a nice version of that song, to be honest. And I think the fact that he has managed to just make it into something himself, it's quite a Anne's going to hate me for saying this. It's quite a basic song. It is just traditional R&B, but it's got a very nice melody to it. And I think he did a really good job with it. It's in E minor, it's 178 beats per minute, which seems incredibly fast, but it must be in half time. Definitely. Anyway, I think it's a very good version of it. I like the fact that he's doing that sort of what we refer to as like a breathy voice over it. So he's pushing the air over his vocal cords to get that sound. I must admit I can hear a bit of nasal in there as well. So I think this might have been at the part of the tour where he'd got a cold. You can just hear him sort of like a sinus while he's singing on it. But it's really sweet, and it's just a nice song.
Yeah, I think it's interesting he's singing this in his falsetto, right? He's using his head voice in this, isn't he?
Yeah, it is his head voice, but it's only sort of like just into head voice. It's more akin
Yeah.
to it's just as you sort of creep into your head voice. It's that crack area. So as I've said before, so you go sort of like your bass tones into chest register, and then you flip into your head voice. And some singers have this like gulp area, whereas Dojoon doesn't. So that's that very delicate area where it sounds quite vulnerable and a little glassy, and that's why he sounds that way. Yeah.
I think personally, I don't favor that for his vocals.
No.
I think if I kind of wonder what he would sound like singing an R&B song where he's singing it more soulful. I think
Yeah.
Tamia is a very, she's a soulful singer, and maybe he's trying to replicate. I mean, obviously, as a female singer, I'm sure she has a higher pitch than
Yeah.
he does. So maybe he's more trying to replicate her, and it kind of came through that way.
Yeah.
So while I love R&B, I love Tamia, I love that song, I don't think this version that he did personally was the best.
No.
Particularly if you compare it to all these other covers that he's
Yeah.
done. I do love the filming style. So I like that he's just sitting on the couch. You can tell it was filmed again kind of during the tour of World. I think it's showing off his guitar skills, which he does in a lot of these Dotunes videos, just showing his ability as a guitarist. But personally, I think, if I hear him sing R&B genre music, I think I'd rather him try to sing more in his chest voice, where he obviously has a power behind his voice. And so I would like to hear him in the future maybe dip into some soulfulness, kind of get some of that rich, velvety vocals that I'm sure he's able to do. All right, let's start to wrap up. We have two more to go into, Kelly. So let's go into number 9. Is this our third Jason Mraz? I think this is the third Jason Mraz that he's done.
Yes, it is.
So obviously this man, as we've said, this is his favorite artist. This song is called You and I Both. We released this one on October 20th, 2025. Again, keeping up with our weekly Dotunes episodes. So let's share this one with everybody now. On this one, Kelly chose a clip that didn't have him singing.
Yeah.
Do you know why I did that?
Because his guitar playing's bloody brilliant on this. This is why.
Yes!
That's why.
I love his face too. Can you see just the pure joy and love of playing music on his face in that clip?
Yeah, you can
It
see
just
a
warms
fire.
my heart.
You can see a fire in his eyes, which is beautiful. And I think sometimes it's sorely missing from a lot of artists. And you can see that joy in his eyes. And you can also tell the fact that Jason Mraz is one of his favorite musicians. Maybe because that's
Yeah.
all I'm going to say. So this is in G major. It is 99 beats per minute, but you've got that really lovely drive to it. It's got quite a nice heavy strum. I think Jason Mraz's style suits Dojoon so well, and he's aware of this. He knows that style suits him because they have
Yeah.
very similar peaks and swells in the voices. They've got a very similar range. They've got that sort of very similar warmth and tone. So I think Jason Mraz is his comfort area. We all singers have
Mhm.
a comfort area, and all singers have a singer that they not necessarily aspire to be, but a singer that they sit comfortably with.
Mhm.
And I think Jason Mraz is his.
Yeah, definitely. I think as we said, I like that this one had more drive with the strumming of the guitar. That's why I kind of picked that aspect of the clip for our viewers and listeners as well, because if it's the third song, right, we've heard him singing two other
Yeah,
songs. I think it's that aspect of this Dotunes video is what makes it stand apart from the other
yeah.
two Jason Mraz songs that he chose. All right, why don't you round us out, Kelly, with our final Dotunes?
So Dotunes number 10 is possibly one of my favourites. And this is Elephant by the truly, truly, truly magnificent Damien Rice. I love Damien Rice, so this is probably why it's my favourite out of the lot of them. This was released on October the 27th, and it is a beautiful, beautiful rendition of a truly amazing song. It's in E major, and it's 74 beats per minute. It's got this beautiful slow burn to it. Please, people, listen to the lyrics. If not even listening to the lyrics, go out and read the lyrics. This song, the very first time I heard it, killed me. Literally. I was dead, coughing out the back type of thing. And when I heard it, I just wanted to curl up somewhere because it hits so many emotions that I think so many of us feel. And the beautiful thing is, Dojoon delivers all of those emotions on this. And you can tell that there's a level of heartbreak in his delivery. So this is a man that's lived, and you can really see it. Now, the beautiful thing about this is because it's Damien Rice, every now and again he likes to turn things on the head. I am a huge fan. One of my favourite songs of all time is Cannonball by Damien Rice. So there you go, a little bit of trivia for you folks. And when we get halfway through the song, there is a lyric in there that kind of throws this twist of it being this very sort of lost, forlorn, heartbreak song. And then the term horny gets thrown in. And honestly, I just died laughing at that moment the very first time. But I mean, it went from being this really haunting thing when I was sort of sat there all sort of mundane and sort of like, morose. And then all of a sudden, I was actually laughing. It was just like only he could use the term horny in the way that it's delivered in this song. But it's brilliant. But if you ever get the chance, go and see Damien Rice live. He's spectacular. He really is so good live.
All right, let's give a listen now. All right, you said about, the original just kind of cutting you. I don't know Damien Rice. I'm
That
not
is your
familiar with
homework.
his music.
That is your homework.
But when I first heard this, I'll admit, I started crying.
Mm.
I started crying. The level of emotion he conveys. I listened to the original song because I was so moved and just like, what is this song? And I admit it's okay, but to me, it's nothing compared to Dojoon's version.
Yeah,
Unpopular opinion, maybe.
no,
But
he
this
put
version is some of Dojoon's not only best vocal delivery, his guitar playing, that driving strumming he does on the guitar while he's delivering this emotional lyrics that just grab you in like your chest. I mean, it was like a mic drop. It was like this was the last one he did, and it was like mic drop, like the
yeah,
best to me
yeah,
out of all of them.
yeah. I mean, to me, this one is I see you and I raise you this. It's a big fuck you to everybody that has put him on the back step as a member of the Rose. And yeah, I mean, the man can fucking sing and he is brilliant, and his delivery on this is spectacular. As I said, I really like Damien Rice's stuff, but he delivers it with such power, and the actual just emotion and vulnerability that is behind it is spectacular. And if he can harness that, which I think we've started to see him do just recently, I think because this is one of the things we said on the World podcast,
Mhm.
that I think because he was allowed in a studio on his own and he was doing the guide tracks, he'd got that point where he was allowed that vulnerability with himself. And I think the fact that he could sit back and listen to it and go, oh shit, actually, I don't need to push everything to the nth degree for this clarity. So we've
Mhm.
seen with these 10 tracks, he's gone from trained classical, what is expected power, and he's taken that power
Mhm.
and he's transmuted it into vulnerability power. And to be able to do that is
Yeah.
such a growth of a singer. I'm still
Mm,
trying to do it,
that's
to be
great.
perfectly honest, because there's a level you
Yeah.
need to be trained. You have to be trained to be able to sing properly and to be able to do it for a length of time.
Mhm.
But to be able to be consistent and trained and then add vulnerability in is a whole different level. He's gone from this level of singer to this level of singer,
Mhm.
literally. And you can see it in that
Yeah.
actual journey of 18 months that we've had between the beginning of
Mhm.
Dotunes and the end of
Yeah.
Dotunes. And I have so much
Yeah.
respect for him. He is amazing. And
Yeah.
I just wish people would give him more sodding credit. I really do.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it again, we said this, but I'll just reiterate it. This made me think of the vulnerability we talked about in Nebula in particular
Yes.
from the World
Yes. Yes.
album
Yes.
and
Yes.
and then in Trauma. I also want to give recognition to Jack Vu. So in the description of this episode, Dojun credited Jack Vu
Yeah.
outright with filming. I think the way Jack filmed this, that one moving shot, he comes in different points where he zooms in on him. There's one point where he zooms in on his reflection in the piano.
That
He
is
in I
beautiful.
think the clip I showed, he uses the focus in a way that is just so interesting and adds richness and depth, I think, to the song itself. just in a similar way that Jack Vu did in the Trauma music video when we talked about that in the Into the Trauma episode. So, recognition to Jack Vu. So we put our feelers out on Instagram before this episode and asked all of our followers, which one of these Dotunes was your favorite? This one, number 10, the elephant cover of Damien Rice, came out as probably the top one. And then I would say the second one were the various Laughing Man musical videos. So those kind of seem to be the ones that people resonated the most with. And again, I think this elephant cover just has hit everybody for all the reasons that we've articulated.
Selfishly, I really want a version of Cannonball out of him, to be honest. If you're listening, Dojoon, I want maybe Cannonball.
Hey, if he's listening to Damien Rice, maybe we'll see it coming out soon.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think this leads into the second part of our discussion today, the speculation, Kelly. Are we going to get a solo album finally from Park Dojoon? I think some of the signs that we started to see that's kind of gotten us speculating this, listeners and viewers, are a couple things we're piecing together, right? It's always like a little puzzle, these little breadcrumbs that the Rose tend to do. I think him coming back out of nowhere and then on a weekly basis releasing these, to me, was a sign, right? He's showing us a couple things. He's showing us, one, his versatility. He's showing us his vocal prowess. He's showing us his guitar skills. But I think he's also testing the waters. I think he was putting his feelers out there from more of a marketing and business standpoint to see, like, is the interest there? Are people liking these? Him as a solo person, not really attached to the Rose. Then one of their staff members, Clara, she's a staff member at Windfall. She posted on Instagram, she was in Europe and talked about kind of, quote, a project that was going on. And she traveled through a set of countries. Now, she did not mention any details about this, but Kelly and I then happened to notice that Dojoon posted around this same time a picture and a few pictures, and you could definitely tell he was in Europe. And you could tell it wasn't at the time of the world tour. So we knew that these weren't from old pictures from when they were on tour. You could tell it was in the current time. And so I think we were speculating that he was on this trip with Clara for this quote unquote project.
Yes, there was very definitely a couple of shots of Candom in there. So unless he'd been to see Youngblood, which he could have done. I think the project is definitely something to do with our Dojoon and potentially a solo album, which I would be all over like a rash, to be perfectly honest. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hunger is there. I think from a lot of fans that we hear from, and we see comments on the Rosarium and on Instagram, people are hungry for something solo from Dojoon. I think people would definitely engage and buy that and stream that. What do we think his sound will be? What do you think a Dojoon album would sound like?
I think he would very much go down the same route as Jason Mraz and Damien Rice and all of those type of singers. I think that's his comfort area. I don't think he'd deviate drastically from that. I mean, if we listen to Burn is a fantastic track that he doesn't give himself any credit for, let alone push. But yeah, no, I think whatever he does would be very, very good. I can see it being very heavily influenced by acoustic guitar and piano, and allow him to have that power to shine through in his actual voice. I mean, I might be wrong. He might come out with a punk album. I'm here for it if that's what he wants to do, but...
No. We're saving the punk album for the Rose, Kelly. We are not going punk with Park Dojoon. We need to save that for the Rose. That needs to be the Rose's next album.
Your idea of punk and my
idea
of punk are two different things.
I think that he's going to go in his, I think he would go in his comfort zone. I think he would do, like you're saying, songs that have heavy leanings like Jason
Yeah,
Mraz or this, you know, Damien Rice. I think what I'm interested in is I don't feel like we've ever gotten what a true Park Dojoon song is. Because I looked up Burn,
yeah.
and Burn is not his song.
No, it's a
Burn
Rose
is
song.
composed by the Rose.
Yeah.
And so we know that the lyrics of the Rose are heavily written by Wuzang.
Mm.
And so I just am so interested in, I said this before in a previous episode, I want to know his inner thoughts. I want to know what is a song that is his lyrics, that's his story that he wants to tell. What is that song? Because I think we've heard the Rose's story and I think we've heard Wuzang's story, but we don't know Dojoon's story. And I am fascinated. I am so interested in his story and what he'll tell in his lyrics. So I think that's an interesting piece that like we've never really gotten from him.
Yeah. I'd like to hear that voice as well, I must admit, because I think it's a quieter voice for as extravagant and outgoing as Dojoon is. I think he has a quieter voice in his head than the main lyric writer. And it would be nice to hear that level of introspection that I think he's got. And yeah, I think that's a confidence thing though, as to why he doesn't necessarily write more lyrics. And I mean, if you look at the time when Burn came out, it would have probably been easier to actually say, even if Dojoon had written the mass majority of the track Burn, which he probably did anyway, it would have fit easier for them to just class it as a group song, because that's what you tend to do, especially when you have agreements in place with your bandmates and you're signed to a label. It's easier to do it that way than actually saying this is my work purely. But yeah, I'm all for that. I'd like to hear his voice. I'd like to know what his sort of worldly view is and what his internal view is as well. And I think there's very definitely a place for it, because the Rose has got a very loud voice and it's very, it's a, oh, this is going to sound, I don't really know how to say it, but it's a very definite one voice. It's very definitely one story. And it would be nice to sort of have that open up and it be other people's stories as well. And I mean, we can't put them in the same bracket as the Beatles. I know they'd like to be in the same bracket as the Beatles, but
Oh, they would love that category.
yeah. But I mean, when you listen to the Beatles sound evolved over time. They started off very pop, and then they had all the Indian influences come in. But the core writing as a group kind of stayed with them till at least midpoint in their career, and then you could actually tell who the lyric writer was on each song. So if you go with something like Eleanor Rigby, or Yellow Submarine, you can tell that it's a different writer because there's a different voice in it. And then when they got onto the solo stuff, it was very definitely, all of them had a very definitive way of writing. And it's definitely a confidence thing, I think, with Dojoon. It's easier to sit back on somebody that has an ability to be a storyteller, and he might not necessarily feel that he's a storyteller, but actually he is. And I think he just needs to get his story out into the world, and I think it'll be a very valid one.
Yeah. I think because the Rose over the years have found how they function as a collective so well. I think they've honed their strengths across all four of them. And I think his strength and contribution has not necessarily been in the lyric writing. I think he helps shape the lyrics when Sammy comes, like Tomorrow is a great example where Sam's coming with this, like, the world's all gonna, end and we're all fucked. And Doju's like, maybe we need to add a little bit of like hope to that, Sam. And so he shaped that song, but he wasn't the main lyric, originator of that song. And so I do think his strength has always been in that group, his ability to produce the songs, his ability to mix them, and the design and that aspect. And so maybe he will lean in on other other songwriters. Like maybe he won't do all of it himself. That could be. But I think, as you're saying, what is nice when groups allow individual members, BTS was this way, when they all went and did their solo work, everyone's work had their own color, because and Woo-sung has said this, when he gets to do things as Woo-sung, it's truly him. It's what he wants to say. It's what he wants to tell. And even when he writes for the Rose, he's contributing, but it's ultimately not only his decision at the end of the day. The other three members of the Rose have to all agree on the direction of that song from the lyric standpoint. And so back to Dojoon as that individual soloist, I think what is exciting is we'll be able to see his true color, what he's thinking. And maybe he'll have help telling that story, or maybe he'll have the confidence to tell it himself. But I think either way, we're excited. Listeners, tell us what you think. Listeners and viewers, are you excited? Are you hungry for this Park Dojoon solo album as much as Kelly and I are? If you think he comes out with one, what type of songs do you think he'll do? What type of style do you think he'll do? We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what you think. Let's wrap up today, Kelly, with our Would You Rather. So this is because this is a Park Dojoon centric episode. We have a Dojoon centric humor segment.
Okay.
So, would you rather you are stuck in the studio with Dojoon and he's spending 3 hours with you debating over one lyric? 3 hours debating and arguing with you. Or you're in that studio and you have to listen to him play a piano chord, the same piano chord, 97 times or more because, quote, it just doesn't feel right yet. Which one is the lesser of two evils for you?
Anne, my darling. My darling, darling, darling friend Anne. Welcome to the world of being in a studio. Welcome to the world of creating music. Welcome to the world of musicians. This isn't a would you rather. This is what fucking happens. To be perfectly honest, I have sat through both of these. So
that's the thing. You've dealt with this. Which is worse?
I don't know. When we wrote the EP, there was one track that we didn't completely and utterly finalise until we were in the studio. And there was one word that Fletch didn't like. One word out of everything I'd written for the goddamn EP. And it was like, I don't like that word. And I was like, oh, God. We spent an hour and a half to the point where it ended up where he thought I'd fallen out with him forever. And I'd literally got him following me around the studio going, Kelly, give me a cuddle. Give me a cuddle. I'm so sorry. But
did he have a legitimate reason?
No.
Not liking that one word?
No, literally, we recorded both. So we recorded the original, And then we went in and we recorded the word that we agreed on, and played them back to back. And then he stood there and he just went, and I was like, "Don't you dare!" And he just went, "Fletch, if you do this to me, I'm never talking to you again." And he just went, "You might have been right, actually, with the original one." I was like, "I am going to kill him! I am going to kill him!" So yeah, every musician who is in a band will attest to the fact that these things happen regularly. This isn't a would you rather. This is just every day in a bloody studio. As to listening to hearing the same chord played over and over and over and over again because it doesn't sound right. My friend Bear, God bless his soul, because he ain't with us anymore, and it's probably a good job because I would have killed him if it had been carrying on doing this. He was an absolute pain in the arse of literally, he'd play a guitar chord and then he'd go, "Does that sound right? Yes, it sounds right." And then he'd play it again. "Does that sound right?" And then he'd play it again. "Does that sound right?" And it'd end up in this loop, a continuous loop that'd go round and round and round. And this one particular day, I'd had enough. Now, may I just point out, I am a lady. I know many of you don't believe that because I can swear like a sailor on shore leave with a bit of change in the pocket. I do not believe in violence, even though occasionally I'll say, "Is violence the way forward?" I will freely admit I did actually punch Bear that day because I just had enough. He burst out laughing because he was quite a big guy. So he didn't really go anywhere when I lamped him one. And he literally just stood there and laughed and then proceeded to play on guitar the circus music, and walked round the studio following me everywhere I went, going. So musicians are great. I love them. Why the hell I do this for a living, I don't know. But as for Dojoon,
I feel like I could so totally see Dojoon in actually both of these scenarios because he seems like he's so meticulous that I could see him playing the same chord 97 times going, is this right? Does this sound right? No, maybe up here. No, maybe down here. Like maybe. And then I think again, like just from him wanting a song to be absolutely perfect. I can see him arguing over that one word lyric. I mean, the Roses said that they have literally gotten into fights about lyrics. Like they definitely told those stories before. Yeah. All right, so what are you picking? What's the lesser of two evils?
Probably the chords.
Oh, wow, you're going to pick the chord.
Yeah, because I can put my fingers in my ear and drown it out.
Okay, I think I'm going opposite because I think that would drive me insane to hear that same chord over and over and over again. I think that would drive me to violence, where I feel like I probably would just end up giving in the debate because I can't stand it anymore. And I'm like, is this a hill I really want to die on over this one word? I think I'll take the debating.
No, it's your hill and you will die on it. You can't let up. It's your hill. And then the bugger turns around and goes, "You might have been right in the first place."
All right, listeners, tell us what you would do. You're in the studio with Dojoon. Are you going to spend 3 hours debating with him over one lyric? Or would you rather listen to him play the same piano chord 97 times because it, quote, just doesn't feel right? Which is the lesser of two evils for you? We can't wait to hear what you pick. Please rate our podcast. Leave us comments about this episode. We always love to hear your feedback. Follow us on social media on Instagram, TikTok, X, and YouTube. We are at KROK_cast all across the board.
Click here to subscribe.
Join us on Patreon. We have a lot of fun benefits like virtual hangouts, exclusive content full of bloopers, as well as future merchandise. Email us at krock.cast@gmail.com. And don't forget the website, www.krockcast.com. All right, see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.